on all the tracks, you have a solid wall of guitars. How do you usually record your main guitars? Do you do a couple of them, or that's not one guitar I'm hearing throughout?
I usually blend. On this album in particular, my main rhythm tone is usually a combination of my Randall 1086 amp that I use and a Bogner Ecstasy head, and I think with the combination of the tone I get from both of those just gives me my main sound. And with some layering here and there, I dabble around a lot with different things, whether it's Marshall or Diesel or everything. I bring all the toys out for it.
Right.
And I just try to find what's suitable for that song. So certain things are going to have, thickening parts, and the guys in the band kind of joke around when it comes to doing overdub tracks and stuff like that, and they call it the Danny Donegan Orchestra, because I get like a mad scientist. It's probably the most boring thing for the rest of the guys to sit through all that, but I'll sit there for hours with every pedal that I have, every pedal that the studio has, every amp that we have, and I'll just try to tweak everything out until we find the tones and the frequencies that sit the best in the mix, and then I'll just kind of noodle around and find certain underlying melodies or stuff that's going to enhance those parts more.
Now you have your own pedal called the Weapon. Am I hearing that throughout the record?
That's definitely in a few tracks. That's something that Digitech a couple years ago, they were putting out a signature series of some of their artists, and they wanted me to be the first pedal, which was great because I'm in great company. Other signature pedals was Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, I think Scott Ian, and Brian May. And me, and I think that's the only artist they did in that run of signature pedals. So
not too shabby.
Yeah, but I guess I was kind of the guinea pig because I was the first one that they did that on. But great company to be in. But they helped me achieve a lot of the songs I did off the first two albums, The Sickness and Believe. They helped me reduplicate some of those sounds in that pedal because. In the studio, you can have a million things to do, and then when it comes to playing it live, you got to try to find the easiest and most convenient way to recreate those sounds. So that was how that came about. So, and I've been using those ever since. So there's definitely some overdub tracks that I've used that pedal on. I've actually used that Weapon pedal on some drum tracks as well to create little sections, little drum loops as well that we did on 10,000 Fists record, the one before this. We were trying to create a drum loop, and it was actually Mike playing his drums and ran them through a little distortion off the Weapon pedal that helped create that.
The song Inside the Fire, the riff is fantastic. It's one of those curlicue riffs. How many versions of a riff like that will you exhaust until you find the right combination? Because a riff like that, you could play it so many different ways.
Yeah, I constantly beat myself over the head over every part, and maybe a little too much, and the guys kind of make fun of that too, because sometimes something may seem good, and a lot of times I may think it's not good enough, and that's kind of me just being obsessed with trying to perfect things or make them better. I always think that, what if I did it this way or that way, and can it improve? And a lot of that is just kind of vibing off each other too. Once the drum part's down and the syncopation, if the musical, the foundation of it's laid down, if I hear David laying down his vocals and something may trigger me to want to reapproach it and do something slightly different when all the parts are starting to mesh together.
What is your process when it comes to writing riffs? Are you one of those guys that sits on the couch in front of the TV and just jams by himself until something hits him?
A lot of times, a majority of the stuff is just me by myself. Whether at home is usually the best for me because on the road we've always had the intentions of trying to write while we're on the road, but there's a lot of distractions out there, and it's not easy enough to just say, okay, tomorrow at noon let's get together, guys, and we're going to write a song. Sometimes it could happen, but it seems almost forced that way. How could you set a time frame for it? So there's been a lot of times where I'm at home and I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and just go pick up my guitar just in that moment because I feel like playing, and I'll just start playing around for hours, just noodling around. And if there's something that I like, I'll just record it to remember what I was doing, and then I'll come back to it and try to build off that.
Do you ever write on an acoustic guitar?
Not so much. There's probably been maybe 2 or 3 songs where I've done something with it acoustically, but most of the time I like to plug in and hear it loud and a little bit more powerful, and that usually inspires me a little bit more when I can feel a little bit of beef behind the chord.